We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Good morning, everyone. I echo Sina's gratitude that you are with us this morning. For those of you who celebrate, Merry Christmas. Buenas noches. Is that the correct Spanish term? We're going to say that it is. It's lovely to be with you all. As we begin this morning, I will just let you know that today's topic is nurturing willingness. Felt like the perfect invitation for the morning. But before we begin, I'd ask Sina to play Awakening Together by Diva Pramal and Mitten while we greet one another on the chat. That song every time, this personality is a bit of a crier, and just being here in the room, I feel the tears already. So just going to let that be felt for a second. Okay. Thank you for that. So I'd like to share our purpose of awakening together. As you all know, we have a very specific purpose here. We are an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self, within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols. We seek to discern one truth and rest in its embrace. And the core value that was given to me today for this homily is core value number 5. We accept all forms as temporary appearances, permitted through enduring awareness of self, capital S self. We live this value by honoring all appearances and all experiences while continually reflecting on changeless truth. So before I share the opening song, I'm just going to say something about a couple of weeks ago. In the last couple of weeks, Regina made these videos for newly ordained ministers. And one of them was how to do a weekly gathering, part 1 and 2. And since this has started, this mind has said, you haven't checked your script against Regina's video, and you are probably sharing everything in the wrong order. So I just call that out loud because it is just the funniest thing that mind does. It just will introduce anything. And that desire to see that, just that thought that says somehow there's a person here that's unworthy, that is the basis of willingness. So I would like to say that I'd like to start with our opening song, because that, I think, is the first thing that we do. And our opening song for today is Let Your Love Flow by the Bellamy Brothers. And I think we'll just leave it at that. We'll just let the song carry us. So, boy, I can't help but belt that out. That song just brings me right into the prayer that comes from the heart this morning, and that is to know this love that we are and let it bind us to all living things. Let it show us the truth of what we are. And let us live in its warm and loving embrace. Amen. So we are exploring today the importance of willingness, and looking at how that helps us to see everything differently, people, ourselves, the world, situations, and for this one, even God. And the reading today is a very brief one. I am very grateful to be joined today by our dear Inka, who will be reading to us from the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, NTI, Galatians, chapter 6, which many of you may recognize as the place in NTI where we are introduced to the process for forgiveness. So, Inka, please.
Try that again. Let's talk about the process of forgiveness in great detail now. For forgiveness is the extension of love within the world. You'll notice the opportunity to forgive when you notice feelings of grievance, hatred, or fear towards a brother. You may also notice self-hatred or guilt or unworthiness within yourself. Whether the target of these feelings seems to be you or another, it is all the same. This is an opportunity for you to invite love into the world by returning your mind to truth. Truth is God, and God is your source. So to return to truth, you must return to your willingness. A quiet mind is helpful for this journey within the mind, for a quiet mind presents the fewest distractions and obstacles to your goal. Within the quiet mind, you first want to find your willingness. Rest the mind and call to your willingness. You know it is there. It has led you to this moment of asking for it. Your purpose now is only to bring it more fully into awareness. Focus on it, that it may stream more fully within you. Your focus gives it flight, so as you give it focus, it fills you. Notice the characteristics of your willingness as it fills you. Notice its peacefulness, its love, and its reality. Rest into it. Be grateful for it. Be immersed by it. As your willingness wells up inside of you, tell it why you have come. You have noticed a wound that needs to be healed, and you bring that wound to the light that it may be seen clearly for what it is. You seek only love. Love heals all wounds through gentle sight. Talk to your willingness about your wound. Stay connected with the willingness as you share. Share your perspective openly and honestly, staying alert to answer within. You may not hear words, but you may hear yourself answering. You may suddenly see in what you're sharing something you didn't see before. You may hear a soft voice floating in from the back of your mind, and you may converse with it. It is all the same. You're coming with your willingness to learn your true point of view. That point of view is seen through the eyes of love because your true intention is love. This is the process of forgiveness. For in communing with willingness, you commune with spirit. In seeing through willingness, you see through spirit. In spirit, all things are forgiven, because through spirit, there is only love. Forgiveness may seem to take time, but every true forgiveness saves time. For you reap what you sow. By releasing darkness and accepting light, you receive light, which goes with you as you look on the world again. In this way, By forgiveness, your mind is transformed until you do not need a process for forgiveness anymore. Share with you the secrets of salvation. They are the secrets of love within your own heart. They are the secrets of your truth, and so they reveal yourself to you. The outer is not important, for the outer is illusion, but the inner is everything. Focus within on the heart and on your willingness. What is outside will seem different as what it is inside is known as transformed. You shall know yourself, and within this knowledge, you will know what illusion is, because it can barely be seen when looked at through the eyes of truth. Rest within, therefore, and have faith in all that I say. I share only your truth, which is forever and ever our way. The wings of angels hold your love within your heart. Let them enter into your mind and know thyself. Amen.
Thank you, Inka. Big fat amen. That was just gorgeous. So truly appreciate you for being here, and love the red, by the way. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right. So, over the last couple of weeks, I have been suffering from what the mind is called a faith and crisis in faith. I had a couple of weeks ago shared in the sanctuary that I had done a root cause inquiry, and what came up at the bottom of this root cause inquiry was some very angry words with God and about God. A sense that this sense of feeling abandoned by God, I've seen before, and I've shared that it feels like I've been talking about it for years. But I could feel at least when this came up, how strongly this belief had been believed over and over and over again. And when I did the root cause inquiry and I could see how strongly this particular belief had been reinforced, there was just this sense of overwhelm that had been coming, that just kind of kept coming through and kept coming through and kept coming through. Like, what if I'm wrong? What if all of this is just made up? What if I've been just fooling myself? And there's quite a bit of judgment about it. Quite a bit of judgment. I mean, how can I stand up in a community that has done nothing but support the desire to be free and to know truth, and say that I'm suffering from this crisis in faith? Like, how can I possibly say that? And yet, the truth is, that's what was here to be said. And during this time, I've been studying NTI 500 days with the 500 days curriculum. And we get to this whole section on Galatians. And I know that the homily is coming, and there's nothing. There's nothing. Every day, like, what am I going to share? There's nothing. And, you know, in Regina, I spoke about this video that Regina did. And Regina says in the video, that the best way to be prepared for a homily is to have a daily practice and to share what's happening within your daily practice. And I sat with Regina and said, I don't know what I have to share. And she said, you share this. And even though I knew in my heart that that's what was to be shared, there was still so much resistance. But there was a tiny bit of willingness. I got to this particular chapter in 500 Days earlier in the week. NTI Galatians chapter 6, this process for forgiveness. And the practice for the day that this particular chapter came up was to let a situation or a person or a thing come up that you're supposed to forgive. Well, I heard very loudly and very clearly, forgive God. And I watched as that didn't happen, as sitting down to do the process didn't happen, and it didn't happen, and it didn't happen. And day after day, there was a new teaching that would speak about this process of forgiveness. And when I sat down with it, what I could see as I looked at Galatians again was the emphasis that was put on willingness. Step one was to quiet the mind. That's step one in the forgiveness process. So how am I quieting the mind? For me personally, I get into a quiet room, I sit down, and I breathe, and then I dump out the thoughts on paper. Just whatever's coming, just let it come. And I just write and I write and I write. And for me right now, this has been a daily practice. I just let the thoughts come. I don't repeat them. I don't say them over again, but I just let them come. And then the very next step, which is just emphasized over and over again, is to focus on my willingness and have gratitude for my willingness. And as Inka read, I was just struck at how many paragraphs within this very short chapter point to being grateful for your willingness. It says that first you want to find your willingness. And what I notice is when I'm stuck in this crazy mind that says God has abandoned me and all else has failed and life is just not turning out the way it's supposed to be, and all attention is out on form, that there is almost a sense that I have to find willingness. Like find the willingness to see things differently. I've heard people say this. I don't actually know who it comes from. I've heard people reference Einstein, but the sense is that you cannot solve a problem at the level at which it was created. And the way it comes in for me is you cannot forgive in the same state that the grievance was created in. So the first thing that came for me was to look up the word willingness. Okay, so really, what is willingness? And willingness is defined as the quality or state of being prepared to do something, just to make yourself ready. And something about the simplicity and the ease of that definition, it's not telling me I have to do anything. It's not telling me I have to, fix anything. It's just saying, be prepared. And what I hear is the preparation is just being open to the merest possibility. I don't care how small, that I could see this differently. Be open to seeing it differently. And just focus on the willingness. It was pointed out to me this morning that in Manuela's satsang, her experience was that willingness is outside of the mind, that it's actually not something that's entangled in the loop of the mind. And I had not heard that before. But what I sense as I look at this desire to be open, if we just look for a moment at this desire to see anything differently, to just be prepared. What I notice is that it takes literally a microcosm of willingness, like the smallest grain of willingness. And I can see why there's so much emphasis on having gratitude for that willingness. I've heard Regina describe at some point in her practice that there was a pinpoint of willingness behind her ear. I don't know where this willingness just resides, but I feel it, just heartfelt willingness to see things differently. And as I focus on this willingness with gratitude, I can't help but notice that it just naturally grows. I mean, I have heard over and over again that being open to receiving truth, being open to knowing truth, hearing truth, be open to not knowing anything, that the more I focus on my willingness, the greater it grows. And if, like this says, that forgiveness is an extension of love in the world, then having the willingness to see things differently is opening into that extension. So what I will say is that it took days before the willingness got big enough to actually sit down and say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to sit with God and ask God for the grace to see God differently. And I haven't exactly been quiet about this particular crisis in faith, because lots of really helpful teachings have shown up from lots of different places, from lots of different people. And one of those very, very helpful pointings was to actually ask God for help with this. it had never occurred to me to ask God for help with seeing God differently. So I will just share. I'm just going to read to you what happened when I did the forgiveness practice with God. Dear God, I have created the space to be open. I have even seen how I get lost in thoughts that say, I have to be in a certain state to be ready to forgive. And I'll just pause there for a moment to say that before this willingness to sit with God happened, there was a question that was asked in the self-assessment that wanted to know if there were people or situations that pop up that I didn't feel, or that I felt like I needed to forgive. And what I noticed was I had a list of about 10 people who aren't people I interact with every day, not even close. And what I noticed was there was no resistance to sitting down and doing the process of forgiveness with them. And for me, that was the first inkling I had that mind had gotten a hold of my desire to forgive God and gotten in the way. It had said, no, but with God, you have to be in a certain state of mind before you can forgive. So I could see that I had been lost in thoughts that say I had to be in a certain state to be ready to forgive. So it continues. I see now that there is a deep fear here. I mean, there's fear. No question. I am so afraid that it is true, this hateful, awful sense that all of the spiritual pursuits is pure nonsense. I am desperately trying to prove to myself that you are there. And that you haven't abandoned me. And while I am still struggling, when I see things in form that scare me, I'm sorry, and all the while, I am still struggling when I see things in form that scare me, things that threaten my sense of safety in this body, things that seem to make me feel like I'm going to die. When I did the root cause inquiry on the incident in Oakland, I could really feel the fear. And just to be clear, I did a root cause incident. That was what I was speaking about earlier. I did a root cause inquiry, and that's where I found this particular underlying belief. And the incident in Oakland was a situation that brought fear up. There was a car chase that was witnessed, something that would be called crime in the world. Doesn't feel alive to spend a lot of time there, but just to give background. So I continued writing, and since then, the fear has been here. In sharing about this, you reminded me that I could ask for help, that you might help me with this. Excuse me. So I'm here, God, looking for some help. Please help me to forgive you for leaving me alone and afraid in this crazy ass world, for putting me in a body that is subject to life and death. I know intellectually that none of this is true, but this is what keeps coming up. I feel small, helpless, and unworthy. I feel like I'm being punished by being in this body. I feel like if you loved me, you would not have put me here. Please help me. Please help me to know truth. Please help me to see what I am not seeing. What is it that you would have me know? So the very first sense that I got, not necessarily in words, was to stop, to breathe, and to rest. And the instruction for this process is to trust whatever comes. It says here that you may suddenly see, it's in sentences 28, it says you may not hear words, but you may hear yourself answering. You may suddenly see you are sharing something you didn't see before. You may hear a soft voice floating in from the back of your mind, and you may converse with it. It is all the same. You are communing with your willingness to learn your true point of view. So even though mind wants to come up with answers, often what I hear when I'm writing with inner wisdom is not a whole lot of instruction other than this: breathe or stop or rest. Like, it's really often just that simple. So the first instruction for me when I did this was stop, breathe, rest. And then it wrote, you are a gift to me. You are a gift to me. You cannot be separate from me. And at this point, inner wisdom kept showing me on a roller coaster ride. It's literally one of my favorite things in the world is to ride roller coasters. Literally one of my favorites. And it started speaking to me in this way. You ride this roller coaster of beliefs and emotions, forgetting that the ride itself is anchored and it was built for enjoyment. And you believe that you have been abandoned. Notice, I have never left you. You have never left me. You have been given the opportunity to enjoy a ride. You go through the tunnel and you believe you have somehow been cut off from the truth of what you are, when in fact, all you see is nothing more than the projection of illusion, like light projections of ghosts in colorful lights. And at this point, mind is literally showing a tunnel with, Casper looking green silhouetted ghosts on the ceiling. I mean, literally, no question of illusion. It's the toy of a child. It is the reflection that you have chosen to believe are real so that you may enjoy the ride. But you are welcome to leave the ride anytime you like. Notice the sense of existence in you now. And at that point, I literally directed to check. Do I exist? Can I sense this sense of existence? Notice how that feels in your direct experience and compare the ride, the projected illusion, to this known feeling of existence. And when I check within, this feeling, this known, anchored, peaceful sense of existence, to the sense that I've been abandoned and somehow cast out, there's no question what I am willing to choose. Next, it says, choose this known, seen sense of existence over and over, and you will know the truth of what you are always. You will know that you could never have been abandoned by me. You will know what you have believed as real and true has only felt real and true when you compare it to the truth of what you are. Choose truth or choose illusion. Either way, you can never be separate from me, from the truth of what you are. Remember that you are on a roller coaster ride, pretending that the ride is real. And let the joy flow. Let the love flow. Let the truth be known. Even as I read this again, I am just completely overwhelmed by the grace that is given just through nurturing the desire to know, nurturing this willingness. But when I actually did this forgiveness process, I could feel this sense that it wasn't actually done. And so, as was instructed in Galatians chapter 6, I am having a dialogue with willingness. So this next part is me, this sense of me. I feel so lost in it when the mind is heavy and judging. I feel so lost in it when the mind is heavy and judging. If love is perfect allowance, then I feel like it must be my fault that I'm not experiencing this as a joyful ride. How do I stop blaming myself for not being faithful enough or having enough faith? And I have been hearing this sense of comparison to others, which I am paying attention to. But I have noticed for a long time, I've had this sense that others have more faith, and somehow they've been given some magical pill that the Rhoda character didn't get. And so Rhoda doesn't have faith. But I am seeing that that just isn't true, and that it is also not helpful. So it felt alive to ask for guidance on this particular point. And inner wisdom said, keep watering these seeds of willingness. Let the light of what you are shine down on this willingness. Every day, sit with me. Every time you feel like you have strayed from the truth, bring it to me. Then trust me to handle what is happening in form, for this is not for you to do anything about. Keep bringing everything to me, and you will see that it couldn't have been any other way. Bring literally every little thing to me, not because you can do it wrong, but because you deeply and truly want only truth. Make this decision in every moment. Make the choice hard and fast in every moment to trust in truth now. And I'll tell you, in that very moment, there was and is such a strong pull to consistently make the choice for God, to consistently ask God to help with every single little thing. And in this moment, it doesn't feel like it's possible that it could be seen any other way. I mean, who knows? This could all change in 30 seconds. But there's such a deep, deep desire that has just come from nurturing the willingness. And so I'd just like to invite us all, before we play our next song, which is a song that is often given to me by Inner Wisdom, to just check in and see if there's something within this message that you want to teach yourself now. And if that something is beckoning you, I invite you to share and take the mic after we listen to this next song, which is called It's All Right. And it is a Disney version. Disney just makes me so happy. I don't know. It's called It's All Right by John Batiste featuring Celeste. Sina, if you would play our next song, please. And it's all right. I get to choose whatever I feel to choose. And that is from the movie called Soul, Soul. It's a Disney movie. A lot of fun. So
I'm checking with myself, and I just have to share this. That was awesome. That was so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So if anyone else feels to share anything that's on their heart or mind, I see Jane and Peter's hand.
Good morning, Rhoda. Thank you so
morning.
much for your sharing this morning. And I don't want to give you good advice. I want to give you my heart. I'm with you and I feel you. And I want to give you my hand. And all what I felt, Rhoda, is before the crisis, before a big leap, a crisis is there. And so thank you for your openness. Thank you for sharing. I can imagine that it takes some courage to share this. And anyway, that's all I want to say. Not good advice, but I want to be with you and next to you in what is possible. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you. John.
Oh, well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Rhoda was beautiful, and it's always beautiful when it comes from the heart. And when we go through these experiences that are so deeply personal and we're able to share them, that's what's always felt. And I've spent a week of laying on a couch being sick and dealing with stuff and watching my mind ramble. Oh man, talk about a mind wanting to run when you're sick. It runs. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. That was quite beautiful. It was perfect for this very moment. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Hope you're feeling better soon. Regina.
Hello, Rhoda and everyone. For me anyway, this path is about truth. And we can never get to truth by lying to ourselves. And so I think what's really respected, I think we all respect it. We all recognize when someone shows up and tells the truth, whatever that is for them right now. You know, when you show up and you talk about, I'm going through a crisis of faith, that may not be the ultimate truth, right? That we're all aiming for. But you can't lie and say, every day is perfect, all I see is God, blah, 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 and get to the ultimate truth. You have to tell the truth every step along the way. And I think one reason people have enjoyed my teachings is because I've always told the truth. Whatever I was going through, I showed up and I told the truth. And, you know, that's what you did today. You know, there were a lot of people who have said to me over the years, well, you know, I can't teach in the sanctuary because I'm going through this. And what I've always tried to say is that's exactly when you should go in the sanctuary, and you talk about that, right? You don't just show up when you're feeling all spiritual and, you know, and right? You have to be genuine. This is about being genuine and authentic and looking directly at and being directly with, in the most honest way you can, every single thing. And it's not all going to be pretty, and it's not all going to feel good, but this is about truth. And so that's what you did today. And I think that's why everybody is feeling what they're feeling, because the truth is, what we all love is truth. So I just want to say thank you for being brave enough to show up and be genuine and raw, instead of feeling like you had to be spiritual, whatever that means. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. And hello, my love.
I want to say thank you. I want the peace of God, right? To say these words is nothing. But to mean these words is everything, right? And you have demonstrated, and you do demonstrate, and you demonstrate just for me personally daily, that what Adi Ashanti says about what we value most, life's going to show us, right? And so daring to want the peace of God, daring to declare you want the peace of God when you do not feel like you have the peace of God, has to reveal the peace of God. But to say that is nothing. To take the steps and walk through it and discover it for yourself, to stand in the naked desire for truth when you look all around and don't see it, or you look inside and you definitely don't feel like you see it. I mean, for me, that's the whole thing. And you are a daily demonstration of that for me and for us all. And we are in such good hands. And we have always been in good hands. We continue to be in good hands, because we wouldn't be here if we didn't want the peace of God. We just get a little mixed up about a me that has to do something. What about it's the me we can lay down gently. And, can we lay down gently in the mind into the manger, right? Offer that up and just look for the North Star, right? Just look, because the gifts are coming, to mix a whole bunch of metaphors. So I love you. And this is quite a gift for me on this day and for us all. And thank you for showing the way.
Love you. At this point, I just invite anyone who feels called or feels the pull of grace in your heart. This is the point where we pass the basket. If you feel called to donate, Sina has shared a link in the chat. We'd invite you to take this time to make a donation to continue to support Awakening Together. I love you all. Thank you for being a place where this kind of raw sharing is not only welcomed, but given the open, willing grace of your heart. Merry Christmas to you all. I'm going to hand the mic back to Sina. I know we're like a minute and a half early, but it feels like a good point to stop and allow fellowship to begin. If you feel called to continue and share, please join us for fellowship. Sina, back to you. Merry Christmas.
Been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.